The story opens inside a high-security prison in Indonesia, a place built to contain the country's most dangerous criminals. On the grimy floor, we see a sickly inmate quietly mopping. Meanwhile, the prison warden arrives to confront another prisoner, throwing photos of children into his cell and snarling that their deaths are on his hands, that someone like him doesn't deserve to live. But the inmate calmly insists those kids weren't innocent, and that what he did was necessary, though the warden could never understand. Before anyone can react, the man with the mop pulls a hidden blade from his bucket and slices a guard's throat open. He grabs the fallen weapon and unleashes gunfire across the block. Chaos erupts. Lee seizes the warden to stop him from running, and soon only one guard is left, but even they end up shooting each other. The inmate in the cell breaks free, walks over to the wounded warden, desperately crawling away, and brutally snaps his jaw apart. On his face, it's clear he sees himself above the law, convinced nothing on earth can touch him. He frees the rest of the prisoners, handing out weapons and ordering them forward. Their cheers don't last long. A wall of armed guards is waiting, and a brutal firefight wipes everyone out. The inmate, Lee, already knew they wouldn't survive. That's why he never joined the charge. He simply steps over bodies, killing anyone left breathing. And just like that, Indonesia's most feared criminal is free again. Back on a quiet shore, a fisherman named Romy is heading out for his daily catch when he spots a body drifting in with the tide. 2 months later, we meet Eileen, a doctor at the local hospital. She's been treating that same man ever since the day Romy found him. A complete mystery patient who has been in a coma for weeks, with no visitors and injuries that make her wonder what horrors he survived. Since he has no ID, she gives him a temporary name and ends up falling asleep beside his bed after a long shift. Suddenly, his body jerks. His mind flashes with violent images and he wakes screaming. Disoriented, he tries to escape the room, but collapses immediately, too weak to even stand. Eileen rushes to him, asking his name, but he remembers nothing. Not who he is, not where he came from, not what happened to him. His memory is completely gone. A scan reveals shards of metal lodged deep in his skull, and Eileen explains he'll need surgery before any memories can return. She tells him, "Until you remember, your name is Ismail." She later introduces him to Romy, the fisherman who saved his life. Elsewhere, a circle of gangsters is panicking over the news of Lee's prison escape. While they argue about how to kill him before he comes for them, Lee strolls in casually with a parcel of noodles, as if he walked in from a picnic, not a massacre. He sits down, eats, and listens while their leader tries to fire him from their criminal operations. Without fear, the boss declares that Lee has lost his power, and tonight they're going to kill him and take everything. They have no idea who they're talking to. At Lee's silent gesture, trained killers step out of a nearby van and slaughter every guard outside. Inside, when the thugs try to attack Lee, a woman named Rika unleashes a frenzy of violence, cutting down everyone in seconds. With their men gone, the gangsters panic. One tries to pull his gun, but Lee jams a chopstick straight through his throat. The last man trembles so badly he wets himself, claiming he didn't even know the dead boss. But Lee asks coldly, "If you didn't know him, why were you sitting here listening to him?" Right before Lee can finish him, the man blurts out a secret. He knows about someone important to Lee. Someone found near the ocean, someone now at the local hospital. This stops Lee cold. He shoots the man in the ear and orders him to bring that person to him immediately. That man, Bondi, storms into the hospital demanding information. When a nurse politely tells him to fill out a form and wait like everyone else, he loses his temper, slapping the guards who step in. Eileen arrives in the middle of the chaos and freezes when she realizes the violent patient she's expected to treat is a criminal. While bandaging him, Bondi casually asks about the man who washed ashore months ago. Eileen lies, pretending she knows nothing. This sets Bondi off. He grabs her inappropriately, crossing every line. Eileen snaps, threatening to call security, but he laughs, knowing no help is coming, and keeps pushing things further. Right as Bondi tries to assault Eileen, Ismail appears out of nowhere and snaps the man's fingers back until they nearly break. Enraged, Bondi smashes a glass bottle against Ismail's head, dazing him. But as soon as Ismail regains focus, something inside him snaps. He grabs Bondi by the throat with terrifying force, squeezing until the man starts choking for air. But if Ismail kills him, Eileen steps between them and calms him down. Only then does he release Bondi. That night, while they're on their way home, Eileen finally asks the question that's been haunting her. "Who are you?" "What I saw today, it scared me." She warns him that staying here will get him killed. If he wants even a chance at survival or at remembering who he is, he needs to come with her to Jakarta. That's where he learns the truth. There's metal lodged deep in his skull, and without surgery, the damage will kill him long before any gangster does. The next morning, they wait at the bus station for the ride to Jakarta. As they sit there, Ismail is hit with a sudden flash from his past, a violent memory that sends a sharp ache through his head. What they don't know is that Bondi and his men are watching them from the shadows. When the bus arrives, Bondi's view is blocked by a van, so he never sees that Ismail doesn't actually board the bus. Out on the road, the bus is forced to stop when a car blocks its path. The driver waits, confused, until a group of armed men rush aboard and gun him down instantly. They scream for Ismail to come out, but he's not there. When no one responds, they decide to erase all evidence. They massacre everyone on board, men, women, even children. Eileen calls Ismail in pure terror, but by then, the killers have reached her. Only she and a small girl remain alive, and when she can't answer their questions, they beat her brutally. Meanwhile, Ismail and Romy follow the bus's trail and eventually find it abandoned on a lonely road. Ismail sprints inside, only to freeze as he takes in the bodies sprawled everywhere. He closely checks every body, but Eileen is nowhere. Only her broken glasses lie on the floor. Before he can process it, a man enters carrying a can of gasoline. Ismail begs him to let him go, promising he won't tell anyone, but the man attacks. In the fight, Ismail ends up snapping his arm. Another attacker rushes in to drench him in gasoline, preparing to burn him alive. As the man flicks a lighter, Ismail shatters his leg. A third man lunges at him, and together they set the entire bus ablaze before locking him inside. But before the flames reach him, Ismail blasts his way out. One of the gunmen fires at him, but Romy leaps in front of the bullet, saving Ismail at the cost of his own life. Heartbroken and furious, Ismail barely has time to react before someone strikes him from behind, knocking him unconscious. Elsewhere, Bondi drags Eileen and the little girl to their hideout. He questions why they even took the child, insisting she's useless, and suggests letting her go. But the thugs shoot Bondi dead on the spot because he is useless to them now. They throw Eileen into a holding cell where Rika begins torturing her. When Rika discovers medical files in Eileen's pocket, she brings them straight to Lee. Realizing who the patient really is, Lee orders his men to bring Ismail in alive. When Ismail wakes up, he's in a police station. The officer interrogating him is furious, convinced Ismail slaughtered everyone on the bus. Ismail keeps insisting he's innocent. The officer slides a file across the table, points at a photo of Lee, and asks if he recognizes the man. But Ismail's blank memory offers nothing. Then the officer shows another photo, one of Ismail and Lee sitting side by side. Before any explanation can come out, the power suddenly shuts off. Sensing danger, the officer goes to check. As he peers through the window, a blade slashes across his mouth, tearing his face open. The killer storms inside and charges at Ismail, who is still handcuffed to the table and unable to run. Forced to fight or die, he smashes the attacker into the table until he collapses. Then a grenade rolls into the room. The explosion tears the station apart, but Ismail survives. When more assassins rush in, he kills them all. Wounded, exhausted, but alive. As he escapes into the hallway, he spots two more men waiting at the gate. One tells the other to switch the lights back on while he handles Ismail. He fires, misses, and Ismail sneaks behind him to attack. But that's when the lights flicker back on, exposing him. A vicious struggle for the gun erupts, ending with the attacker taking control. Ismail dives under a table while the man fires wildly. Once the gun clicks empty, Ismail lunges, tackling him to the ground and beating him senseless before finally shooting him. The last man arrives, sees his friend's corpse, and snaps with rage. They fight for a long time, then the thug wraps his hands around Ismail's throat and begins crushing the air out of him. Ismail fights through the choking, hammering punches until he breaks free and knocks the man half dead. He tries to spare him because he's not a killer, but the man charges one last time, leaving Ismail no choice but to finish him. As the room falls silent, fragments of memory break through. These men, they were once his childhood friends, his brothers in every way except blood, and now he's killed them all, without even remembering their faces. Somewhere else in the compound, Eileen secretly pockets a sharp pair of scissors. Moments later, Lee arrives. He finally sees the woman who saved Ismail's life. He asks her, "So you saved Abdi's life?" He calls his men, instructing them not to kill Ismail. But suddenly the voice on the phone isn't his soldier, it's Abdi himself. His memory has returned. Knowing Abdi had killed his goons, Lee becomes furious. Lee grabs Eileen by the throat and growls into the phone, demanding Abdi come immediately, or she dies. Lee sends his location. Right as Abdi is on his way, Eileen seizes the moment and drives the scissors straight into Lee's shoulder. Lee barely flinches. He looks down, annoyed, and tells her she should have gone for his throat. A nurse should know better. A doctor definitely should. Then he settles back, waiting for Abdi to arrive. When his eyes fall on a broken blade lying nearby, he flashes back to the day he tried to kill Abdi himself. The day Abdi defeated Lee's strongest fighter, proving he was dangerous enough that if the men failed to stop him now, Lee would have to do it personally. Meanwhile, Abdi tracks them into a dense jungle. There, he finds an old deep well, and the sight triggers one of the darkest memories of his life. Lee used to throw children into that pit, leaving them without food for days, sometimes weeks. When their hunger pushed them to madness, he'd toss down a single bottle of water and force them to kill each other for it. Whoever survived was pulled up, trained, and molded into one of Lee's killers. As Abdi relives it, a familiar voice calls out, "It's Bejo, once his closest friend, a man who risked his life for him countless times." Bejo looks heartbroken. He tells Abdi he wishes he had never come and offers him one last chance. Walk away, and he won't have to kill him. But Abdi refuses to leave without Eileen. When he steps forward to fight, Bejo suddenly vanishes into the trees. Abdi assumes he retreated, but Bejo ambushes him from behind. Bejo isn't like Lee's other fighters. He's faster, stronger, more precise. Abdi can barely defend himself as Bejo pounds him relentlessly, leaving deep wounds all over him. Only after absorbing brutal punishment does Abdi land a single desperate punch, a hit so hard that blood pours from Bejo's mouth. The man staggers, quietly walks away, and collapses. By the time Abdi reaches him, Bejo is dead, and guilt crushes him. Before he can even breathe, Rika fires at him. Abdi dives behind a boulder and counterattacks at the first opening, disarming her. Seeing her face, he realizes she's the same woman who once shot him, the reason for so many of his scars. Rika reminds him of how close they used to be, and slowly steps toward him. Abdi warns her to stay back, he doesn't want to kill her. But she snarls that he threw their bond away for that woman. In rage, she lunges, stabbing him over and over until he is barely standing. Even then, Abdi refuses to kill her. He begs her to stop and pleads with her to escape Lee's control. He turns to leave, and she betrays him again, attacking from behind. This time, Abdi has no choice but to strike her down. He grabs her knife, tells her to back away, and for a moment, it seems they've reached a truce. But the second he reaches out a hand to help her, Rika aims a gun at him and unloads round after round. That's why Abdi had to kill her. But when Abdi opens his eyes, he realizes none of the bullets hit him. She deliberately missed. "Now we're even," she whispers, and dies in his arms. Her death crushes him, but he has no time to grieve. Lee, meanwhile, waits impatiently, convinced Abdi will crawl in broken and defeated. Instead, Abdi calls him and calmly says he's already outside. Inside the compound, a guard enters Eileen's cell and orders her to move to another room. When she resists, he tries to force himself on her. Just as he's about to assault her, the little girl smashes a metal plate over his head. Enraged, he beats both of them. But in the struggle, the girl manages to grab his rifle. While he's distracted, Eileen attacks too. The man laughs at their shaking hands, convinced neither has the nerve to pull the trigger. Then the girl disengages the safety. Eileen opens fire, shredding him with bullets. They rush out, only to run into another guard, and Eileen kills him too. Gunshots echo through the halls, drawing more men after them. She fights until her bullets run dry, and just when the killers close in, Abdi storms in and wipes out the entire squad. He calls out to her softly, "Eileen, it's me. It's Ismail." But she is terrified. To her, he looks exactly like the monsters who tortured her. She begs him not to come any closer. Abdi steps forward anyway and says, "I'm not like them. You saved my life once. I'm asking you to save me again." That breaks her fear. She drops the knife and collapses into his arms, sobbing. Then Abdi spots Lee, watching them with cold, burning rage. Lee charges, slamming into Abdi, striking him over and over. He sneers, "You're nothing but a dog that doesn't understand loyalty." When Lee realizes Rika is dead, he completely breaks down. He had raised her like his own daughter, and now the weight of that loss crushes him. But Abdi tells him the harsh truth. Rika didn't die today. She died the moment Lee dragged her out of that well and forced her into a life she never chose. "Her blood is on your hands alone," Abdi says. Lee explodes with fury and charges at him. Every strike from Lee is brutal, precise, and meant to kill. Within minutes, Abdi can barely stay on his feet, but he refuses to surrender. As long as he can breathe, he will fight. Their battle grows more vicious by the second, turning into a struggle where only one of them is meant to walk away alive. Blow after blow, Abdi absorbs absorbs unimaginable pain, yet somehow gathers the strength to launch himself forward again. He unleashes a flurry of punches, and with one final devastating strike, he sends Lee crashing down, unable to rise. Lee tries to crawl away, desperate to escape, but Abdi refuses to let him slip, not until this ends. Lee lashes out with everything he has left, a last burst of rage, but Abdi counters and snaps his arm. Then Abdi lifts him and hurls him onto a sharp wooden spike protruding from the wreckage. It pierces clean through Lee's body. Even impaled in moments from death, Lee still grips Abdi, trying to force Abdi's neck onto the same spike. He fights with a ferocity that defies sanity, determined to take Abdi with him, and he nearly succeeds. At the last second, Eileen grabs Abdi from behind, pulling him away and weakening Lee's hold. Blood gushes from Lee's wound, and finally the monster exhales his last breath. Abdi survives, but only barely. His body has been pushed beyond its limits, and he collapses unconscious. The scene fades, and we find Eileen in a hospital. Doctors have performed surgery on Abdi, removing the metal fragments embedded in his skull. But his injuries run deep. He has slipped into a coma. He may take months to recover. Thinking about everything he endured brings tears to Eileen's eyes, but she forces herself to stay strong. She closes her hands together and quietly prays for him. Her gaze drifts to the chartboard beside his bed. The space where the patient's name should be is blank. She reaches forward and writes, Abdi. After a moment, she erases it, maybe out of fear, maybe out of hope. And then, as if her prayer is answered instantly, Abdi opens his eyes. His voice is weak but steady. Maybe you should write Ismail instead. A soft smile blooms on Eileen's face, the first real one she's had in a long time. She's overwhelmed with relief, happiness, and gratitude. Ismail is finally back. And with that, the movie comes to an end. Hope you enjoyed the story. Thank you for watching. See you in the next one.